practiced by the US and EU, and the physical asset-based economic model followed by China and others. When the country embarked on its globalization in the year 1991, the scarcity of foreign exchange was a problem. We had foreign exchange only for 2-3 weeks. So the entire policy for the next decade was tailored around augmenting the foreign exchange reserves. In the midst of the whole effort, we have cautioned the government that you are going in one direction, meaning that it should be a holistic approach. But today we have $600 billion of foreign exchange, but all our soft reserves are not hard reserves. In the sense that we have more foreign portfolio investors and foreign direct investment rather than the hard-earned foreign exchange reserves. So out of this 600 billion of foreign exchange reserves, almost $580 billion are invested in American treasuries market. So the Indian foreign exchange is augmenting to the debt tracing program of the United States of India and not to our country. So in Suresh governments, we have raised a serious debate about this, whether this foreign exchange is really a boon or bane. And third thing, most important thing, after this pandemic, the world has developed an allergy towards anything that is chemical. Now the farming is moving from chemical-based farming to natural and organic farming. 1 year before, there was not much enthusiasm in the country about natural and organic farming. Today, the Prime Minister is the Prime Ambassador to promote this. Yesterday, he has given liberate our land from the use of fertilizers and pesticides. So here we have an opportunity. So now there is craze for everything that is Indian. Day before yesterday, I was in Bangalore talking to Chris Gopalakrishnan, the former managing director of Infosys. He said that yoga is a $80 billion business. So everything that is Indian, the world is ready to look at. So Narendran remarked, I was closely interacting with the immediate past president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the last 1.5 years. And he has said that the ICA has branches in 142 countries. And number will be around 30 to 40,000 people. Just imagine this, if all these people come together who are sitting in different spots of the world and pool their knowledge and resources, I think we can do immense service to our country. Like the paradigm shift that is taking place in the economic development business models. Now the finance professional should also become a little more outward looking. They must become ambassadors of economic development rather than focusing on purely on finance. They must become a part of taking our culture, rich cultural heritage to different parts of this country. A little more of expansionist idea of this enlightened group, and I'm sure will go a very long way in this. But I'll just share 3-4 statistics with you what we can do. No, in the last 1 year, in the year 2021, India has exported agricultural goods worth 2 lakh crores. There is an officer in Napada, Agricultural Promotion Export Development Agency by name Dr. Angamuthu. He is an IAS officer from Dharmaburi, doctorate in agriculture. He has shared that they have done extremely good work. 1 kilogram of rice from Tanjore, known as village rice. They say it's a completely natural rice, not even 0.1% of chemical was added. It is being sold in international 150 rupees, and there is demand for 500 tons every month. And again, there is a coffee brand called Araku coffee brand near Visakhapatnam, produced by tribal people. With the support of Infosys, Gopalakrishnan, he has inculcated processing, up-to-date processing machines to them, packing, etc. And I am told that their market realization is 10 times of the local realization. And he says that I had not gone there, but he says go and visit there. Every family in this tribal belt now owns a car, owns a house, or our children are getting educated. So this is the opportunity available to us, and our non-GM tag, our natural tag, is going to dominate the world in the next few days, next few decades to come. Again, our software exports during the last year is $180 billion. So if we can package it and sell it like that, it is more than the oil export of Saudi Arabia. People say that Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter of oil, but our software exports are more than the oil manufactured and sent by Saudi Arabia to different parts of this world. And there is a unicorn once in 10 days. So these are all the opportunities that the country is presenting today. And as finance professionals working in different parts of the world, now this is the day, this is the hour, this is the minute, or even this is the second that we should come together and help our country. Now there are 2-3 issues. India has the largest number of startups. I'll ask my assistant to show you some 3, 4, 5 slides. He will not take more than 3-4 minutes, just to see what is happening. So now they see the startup ecosystem will help create $10 trillion economy in India by the year 2030.
Sundaramji, you can go to the next slide.
Please, I can go. The Indian startup ecosystem, it is the third largest ecosystem in the world. There are 60,000 startups valued at $400 billion. Even in the world, there are 82 plus unicorns. I have shown this, the other side shows that in detail, the names of different unicorns. Even in the world, the Indians are, there are 0.1 million software professionals working, and they are part of 70 plus unicorns created by the Indians ourselves. So the valuation will go from $400 billion today to $1 trillion by the year 2025. So these are all some of the most active venture capital investors meeting. So all these shows that as finance professionals, we have tons and tons of opportunity. But the only rider here I want to tell you before I close that 95% of these Indian startups are funded from abroad. The Life Insurance Corporation of India is sitting with 40 lakh crores of investment, but they are not investing even 1 rupee in Indian startups. Our Indian taxation system discriminates between the Indian people and the foreigners. They are taxed at 10%, but our people are taxed at 30%. So the society is seized of all these problems. Here, I need your help because you are working in different parts of these countries. And if you are pool the NRI support from your respective countries, not only the money part of that, what are all the opportunities that is available to you in your part, and then connect us to the requirements of our people. In turn, we can say what are all the opportunities available in India so that you can participate directly from there. So this is the time we should all come together, because India is in a massive explosive stage. So as finance professional, we have a responsibility to make the Indians working across the globe to invest in our country so that the profit ultimately comes to our country, at least to a large extent. So I request you to work in this connections. Already 25 minutes of the time given to me is over. I'll close it within the next 2-3 minutes. The global financial crisis, it has inculcated, there was a physical stimulus, there was monetary stimulus. Now it has inculcated behavioral stimulus. Because anything that is Indian, now that has attraction today, let us capitalize on this and see that what best we can do for our country. And finally, it's a very, very long for throughout the world. This I have learned from Narendran. And if we are able to influence the policies of our countries to make them shift towards pro-India stance, it will be of enormous help. Whether you like it or not, China is our threat. We cannot do business with our strong neighbor. Today, it is dominating the Indian manufacturing market. The time has come that we have to move away from that. There will be some disruptions. People will say there will be supply chain will be disrupted. Something, all these things they will say, but it is a historic necessity that we should move. I think that this day, not much of a diaspora is in China today, but if all of us in the rest of the world can come together and help our country in taking on this challenge, our services will be remembered by each and every one of you. Thank you very much for patiently hearing me for the last 20-25 minutes. The president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is in Madurai today. So I have taken a little bit break from the meeting and came back here. So with your permission, after this presentation is over, you must excuse me to go and meet him. And in the meanwhile, if you want to interact anything for about 5-10 minutes, I will always be happy to do that. With an assurance, whenever this group wants me for interaction, I am available 24/7. So with this assurance, I thank you very much for giving me, for patiently listening to me for the last 20-25 minutes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Sundaramji, for the nice presentation and putting across the things which are at present prevailing very clearly. So, with your permission, if anybody is having any questions, we can take 1 or 2 questions before you leave.
Sure.
Luigi wants to tell something. Just a minute. Yeah.
First give preference to people from overseas.
Oh.
Some people have joined from Muscat, from Qatar, from other parts of the world. Let them speak first.
I don't have a suggestion, but I have a promise to make to Sundaramji and all others. You mentioned about the global valuation. Very soon, sir, Raviji's backdrop will become the world's largest venture capital in the world.
Okay. Okay, good.
If there are any questions, we can take it. Sundaramji can take it this one. So please.
Namaste to all. I am Kalyana Sundararajan Charadakodan from Muscat. Sundaramji, I have a question here. What is the mode of connection between the NRIs and the Indians in terms of service related to finance or in terms of funding any projects? How do we link so that we get connected and we develop our nation as a leader of the world?
According to my knowledge, there is no restriction for NRIs to invest in any sector country today. I think there may be some procedural part by the Reserve Bank of India. Otherwise, it is open.
How do we find the projects?
See, there are hundreds of at least 3-4 agencies which I can suggest. One is there is a special cell, a special NRI cell operating in the Government of India, Department of Finance. There is a special economic promotion cell operating in the Ministry of Commerce, and there is also a special cell operating in the Prime Minister's office. And if you want the contact number of all these 3 organizations, please share your mail ID with the Ambi or somebody else. I will connect you to all those 3 people. It is relatively easy today. I think the government, at least in this area, they are very vibrant.
Good morning, Mr. Sundaramji. My name is Ramakrishnan. I'm speaking from Saudi Arabia. See, recently I had 2 years back, it's still continuing. I had an experience. Some startups which has been set up in India, they are finding it very difficult to get the land for starting the business. Either the lands which are given by the governments are all under auction and they are all very big sized plots. For startups, those big sized plots are not required, only small sized plots are required. But those small sized plots are being managed only by the private individuals whose cost is very, very high. So is there any way that smaller size plots can be, there can be some, what do you call, the helping from the government side for the startups with the smaller sized plots for the startups business?
There is a special cell in NITI Aayog. They have a Startup India division where you can get in touch with them. All over the country, they have data bank available, data bank for all other support. Once again, I can share the contact numbers with you because then NITI Aayog, they will definitely support all these things. There is a special cell there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would appreciate that, please. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay.
Any other questions? Because he has some limitations on the time.
Sundaramji, this is G. Subramaniam from Qatar. Hey to you all.
I am not able to hear you. Your voice is very feeble, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Now I am hearing you.
Okay, namaste to all of you. This is G. Subramaniam from Qatar. My quick question is, as you mentioned, there's a lack of interest in investment in unicorns and startup in India. One of the reasons you said it's an incentive. Is there any other factors which is restricting Indian investors? Because
the first major factor, according to me, is the mindset. The risk-taking mindset of Indians as a class. We have been very conservative. But the entire startup ecosystem operates on aggressive finance. American people are willing to invest few hundred crores in a loss-making company. Here, if you are a loss-making company, you cannot get even 1 rupee of investment. Because this is our mindset. The mindset should change from evaluating technology and foreseeing the future. So this mindset change among the investors is the first thing. They investing in the taxation or the incentive is very, very secondary thing. I don't want you to take as much risk as an American investor takes, but little more mindset change to take some risk, because reward always comes with risk. So the risk-taking mindset is the fundamental requirement as far as I am concerned.
Sorry, just to follow up the question, what is the success rate? If you can give me at a very high level of unicorns.
The success rate of Indian startups is hardly 10%, but that is the norm in any part of the world. But this 1% success will make up for 200% of your investments.
Thank you, Ji.
Can I add a point to one of the previous questions?
Please. Sethu, you are,
sir.
You are operating in the field for quite so many years.
Yes, sir, and that is why I wanted to just take a 1-minute intervention. Ramakrishnan ji talked about how to get the projects off the ground with since there is an land problem and an office problem. And I presume most of the startups are generally in the fintech and all tech sectors, and therefore they don't need too much of land. But having said that, there are enough incubation centers run by IITs, by MIT, by private individuals, and even a WeWork can end up as being a incubation center. Therefore, if you test your POC in an incubation center and then get it off the ground and then take it to angel investing and then level 1 or first level of investing, that is the only time when you need to be a little asset heavy. Otherwise, most of the times you are in asset light mode. Where there is a manufacturing startup, there are enough tech parks and enough industrial zones and enough fintech centers, GIFT City, Gujarat being one, where you can assemble or SEZs, various SEZs. So that in short, there is a mix of private and governmental infrastructure help available.
Sir, thank you very much. In fact, that's what I'm just to add. Yes, that's what we did. What we did, we took an incubation center with Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in Coimbatore. So we have the incubation center established because this is for a agricultural oriented startup. So we have taken an incubation center within Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Coimbatore. But at the same time, what happens is for moving ahead with the small production and then testing and all, we needed a small space, but then that is not permissible within the incubation center. So that is where we do require some office space within the incubation center as well as some small manufacturing setup. Then we can test and then do the prototypes outside. That's the reason why I raised that query. Thank you anyway. That's a good information from your side.
I'm suggesting that Sundaramji may want to go because these are quick reactions to his speech. So I think we should spend this kind of quality time in putting all the issues into one bucket post the second speaker. If everybody is fine with it, Ambiji, you may move to the next part of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Ji. Thank you, Sundaramji, and other participants for asking some interesting questions. Now we will move to the next speaker. And our next speaker is Dr. Sujata Seshadrinathan. She is Director IT Products and Process and major shareholder in Basis Fund Services, a global leader in fund administration. Basis is India's only international fund administrator, globally ranked 1 in financial reporting service provider and number 22 in fund administrating rankings. Dr. Sujata ji holds a doctorate in business administration from SP Jain School of Management, Singapore and India, focusing on blockchain adoption. Her educational qualification as well as work experience make her a fine amalgamation of software, finance, and accounting knowledge. She has over 20 years of experience in software design and development and fund administration services. Her experience in software includes process management, skills management, and product design. She has deep expertise on several domains in a vast area of technologies, starting from mainframes to Java, the latest being blockchains. Dr. Sujata has developed automated technology solutions and products for accounting applications in the fund industry, legal tech, among others. She holds 2 patents for the products designed in the fund administration and legal service space. She has also led several projects for process engineering based on Six Sigma architecture from inception to implementation and handled SSAE certification for various verticals. Her research interests includes technology adoption, blockchains, and accounting information. She will present the topic now, the impact of blockchain on finance professionals' workspace. Please welcome Sujata ji to give her the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for that introduction, sir. I will, as I was introduced and the topic was mentioned, basically what I will try to do with you for the next half an hour is, I will try to demystify quite a lot of things about this blockchain. Like just last week, we were with someone who has been hearing the word blockchain about 50 times daily, and he had no clue about what it was. And he was in a government position where he was expected to take some steps ahead for implementing and understanding the technology, whereas he didn't know what it was. So I don't want any of us to be in that position. And so I will take you through a small presentation which will help you understand what exactly to expect. So this is aimed at more aimed at understanding the technicalities of the technology as far as the professionals in the finance domain are concerned. So anybody has any doubts or needs any further information on any of the topics or any of the matter that I will be presenting, you can always get in touch with me later. Questions also you can ask anytime. Thank you. Shall I start sharing my screen, sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just sharing a brief presentation with you that I will be taking you through right now. Give me one moment. I just need a couple of presentations. I don't know whether I can. No, I did. All right. If I need to share anything more, I will have to stop sharing and come back to you because this is allowing me to share only one at a time in a particular window. I'm heard, right?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear
So
you and then see the slides.
yeah. If there is any disruption, please stop me, sir. Yeah. So to start with, like Sundaram sir said and Narendran sir said before him, we are sitting in a country which has given us a lot and has given us a lot in terms of not just our past but also our present and our future. So the fintech, one Mahan whom I know used to always say that the next wave of Indian presence globally will be from the finance and accounting space after the IT space, that is. So IT happened. IT was a big thing for India, and after that has come fintech, which I believe, due to our understanding of accounting and finance and our deep ingrained integrity, we are very good at this. So fintech is the very what do you say? It's an infant worldwide. It's not an industry that existed before 2000. This is just an industry which is about 15 years old, less than 15 years old. But fintech in India is its fastest growing technology arm. Within the IT space, fintech is the fastest growing. As you can see, there are some numbers here. India accounted for the highest fintech adoption rate. Now, what do you mean by fintech adoption rate? Fintech is finance and technology in finance. So fintech is where you will come across a lot of technology and technology enabled tools being used for financial purposes. So that is very, very high in India right now. In fact, you may not believe this. As I was doing my research, the number of people who thought that blockchain adoption may create a problem for them because they don't know the technology yet or they are not yet prepared for the technology was very, very low. In India, people are used to technology now. And I expect the blockchain wave also to be taken very positively. And what is the blockchain and why is it going to be a wave? Scholarly opinion, research opinion is very firm in stating that blockchain is the next internet. That is how impactful it is going to be. As a technology, as I understand technology, technology progresses in ways that integrates past learning as well as future expectations. When you start using a technology, your expectation out of the technology are different. Once you settle in with the technology, you start expecting more out of it. That is where blockchain comes in. When you talk about fintech and technology adoption for fintech, fine, finance, accounting, and all the related affiliated industries accepted, adopted to everything that the infotech industry offered. But was there a platform or a solution that was specifically created for them? The answer is a no. There is no way that you can say that the decision management systems or the MIS systems, they were not created for finance guys or for the, I know accountants are married to Excel, but it was not created for accountants. However, blockchain is an accounting application. Whoever first thing understand blockchain is an accounting application. Blockchain is there where blockchain is there as an underlying technology for any and every cryptocurrency in the world. What does it do there? It does accounting there. It keeps track of what is bought and sold. It keeps track of what is your final balance. So blockchain is very widely regarded as an accounting application, as an application meant for fintech. Okay. That being said, and I mentioned that when we start using a technology, when we go on to a technology, expectations are different. Now, expectations will be different when you settle in technology. I'll ask you a simple question. If I booked a trade, I bought a stock yesterday, bought 100 of, say, Hindustan Lever. How many accounting entries will that cost? Believe me, and please remember, India is a leader in fintech. Everything possible in finance and technology and everything has gone into trading. It has gone into stock markets everywhere. Still answer this question of mine. I bought 100 Hindustan Lever yesterday. How many accounting entries will that cost? I understand quite a lot of you, except Narendran sir, who openly admitted to being like me. But most of you are accountants. So I'm sure this is a question you all can answer. Am I there? Hello? The number of entries this can cost.
Can I answer?
Yes, sir. So this is
It can be a single entry or it can be a multiple entry. Yeah, based on the transaction.
We don't know is the answer, sir. The answer is that this is what it will cost. Of course, when my father-in-law bought 100 Hindustan Lever and had to wait for years to get delivery, it was physical, everything was a problem. We moved on to DMAT. We are in a much better space. But even today, we are in this space. Can you see this slide? We are still today in a space where accounting systems as well as fintech systems
Sujata, the slide I'm seeing is still on the first home page. The presentation, for some reason, we are not seeing. We are only on the home page.
I'm so sorry.
To slide 2, 3, 4. So maybe
I wonder
you
why,
should.
because now what should I do, sir?
I think you should come back to normal and then start again.
Or you can
I'm
go for
stopping the
PowerPoint
share.
presentation.
I'm stopping the share.
Back.
Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
You can go for a slideshow.
It was on a slideshow, sir. It was very much on a slideshow. What I will do is,
Can
I share my entire screen? I think I will share my entire screen. I had shared an application. Let me try a screen share. Probably that will work better. I can also see whether you can see. Yes. So you should be able to see this now. Can you see this, sir?
Yes, now we are able to see all the slides. Yes, please move.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, and thanks for mentioning that. Thank you. So this is the situation that we have in the world even today as far as fintech is concerned, as far as any form of accounting, whether it is financial, as far as I'm concerned, even supply chain management somewhere involves material management and cost accounting and all that stuff. So, any form of transfer of any form of goods, assets, or your money for that matter involves all this. Definitely the stakeholders, definitely the banks, definitely the regulators, definitely the auditors, and definitely the situation that is still very much the same as it was in the physical system. Only thing is you moved on to the electronic system, but you really not have gained any much benefit from it. In comes the blockchain. Now, what happened in the blockchain was, first it was introduced as a technology. Bitcoin didn't come first, blockchain came first. Satoshi Nakamoto, the same group, I have seen their white paper. They first came up with this white paper in 2008. It didn't get any attention. Nobody bothered about it. The blockchain technology is a very big and breakthrough technology. Why is what I want to tell you. In blockchain, what happens? Very clearly, in very late terms, I will tell you. I am giving someone money because I bought goods from them. Okay? This money may be in physical form. Even if it is in physical form, I withdrew the money from a bank and I gave it to this person. And this person has to record the receipt of money, transfer of goods to me. I have to record the giving of money and receipt of goods. Correct? In a blockchain, what will happen? Instead of two people recording two transactions, which is actually the one and same transaction, and then bank recording something else, we have only one record of that transaction. And that one record of the transaction is not owned by you, me, or the bank. That is very, very critical. It is owned by the blockchain. It is on the blockchain. It is a system that is keeping control. So there can be no bias in this. Who programmed the system? The system was programmed as per the requirement of you, me, and the bank, whoever is a participant of the transaction. Is that okay? So here what happens now? No centralized ledger. It is the individual traditional ledger. I will have a copy of it. The seller will have a copy of it, and the bank will have a copy of it. That is the achievement of the blockchain. That is what differentiates it. What differentiates it is that even today, when I go online and check my bank balance, that bank balance that I check and the bank statement that I take out may be different from what I have recorded in my office company's books. This happens all the time, which is why the audit and the other professions of reconciliation are very much involved. In a blockchain, that is what is sought to be removed. There is only one record of the transaction. However, that one record is not owned by anybody. It is distributed. It is across the network. All three of us, or all 10 of us, or how many ever people were involved in a transaction, all of us will hold the same copy of the ledger to the extent of which we own the ledger. In the sense that if it is some XYZ transaction, I obviously will not know. But if it is my transaction, then the record in the blockchain that I hold is the same as a record in the blockchain that the seller holds, same as a record that the bank holds, same as a record that the regulator will see. Is that okay so far? So what was happening before as this situation, this will be resolved to this now. Everybody is seeing the same record. Does this work like this? Yes, it does. I have coded this. I have coded on blockchains. I know it works like this. So who all will be there? How many people are going to participate in a transaction? All this is according to your requirement. This is not fixed. Everything can be, customized as per an individual's requirement. Advantage of this system. Now, when this is the system, there is one thing that I definitely need to the system. The system needs to be immutable. Which means the system I cannot go and change it. Second party cannot go and change it. That is not, should be not allowed. And that is how it is. All right. And what happens when this transaction is being recorded? This transaction has already been verified by what is called a consensus. This consensus is again in the system, which checks to see whether the transaction is valid and correct. It is not done by any individual. The individual nodes of the computer do it. What does this mean to you as a finance professional? Actually, it means nothing much to you. I can build a GUI and tell you the backend is blockchain. The backend may just be a database. You will not realize it. But what will be the difference? you will realize these benefits. You will get a consensus-based record, which is absolutely correct, verified, and then only recorded. It is concurrent. As soon as a transaction happens and is reflected for one person, it is reflected for everybody who is a participant to it. Provenance, you can prove that the transaction is correct because it leaves an audit trail. You can show that this time was recorded, at this time it happened, and these people participated in it. Even the audit trail is immutable, it cannot be changed. So immutability of both transactions as well as the audit trail is present in the system. Is that fine so far? Hello?
Sujata, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the big advantage now is that I'm talking to you about a system where people are recording a transaction into a common ledger, but that common ledger is not centrally owned. It is decentralized. The people who created the consensus are the participants of that model. They are not external. It was also decided by the machine. Nothing is biased because all this is coded into your system. As I told you, I can build a GUI and tell you the backend is blockchain. You will never understand. How many people worldwide are dealing in Bitcoin, in various kind of cryptocurrency without knowing a thing about accounting or blockchains? It is not necessary to know. Then why is it so necessary for a financial professional to be aware of this? Because yours is a main industry that is going to be impacted by blockchains. Therefore, you should be aware of the advantages that this can give you. Okay, this is just some technical details. If you want to know this, I can go into this, but this is not really necessary for you, except to understand that what is entered into each of the, in a blockchain, data is entered in form of blocks. Within the blocks, all the data you can see, these are hashed. Hash is a cryptographically created numeric equivalent of your data. Your data is not stored as data, it is stored as hash values. Again, these hash values are all related to one another. They are all bound to the previous hash values. And each hash, when does it go to the next block? You don't control it. The blockchain knows when to go to the next block. And if you go to the next block, can I change something here? No, because this link will be broken. Each block records what was there in the previous block. So the minute one block is touched, the entire blockchain is gone. This is why in cryptocurrency there have been frauds. But so far, there has never been a blockchain that has been copied. It cannot be copied. It's near impossible to copy. Then why should I know how it is stored and all that? You don't need to know at all. Do you know how data is stored after it is, you type data in Word? You think it is stored as a Word document? You don't. But you need to understand that it is absolutely immutable. And it is, as of today, so far, I have not come across a blockchain that has been breached. It has not happened so far. These are all very, very high bit of, encryption that is used in this hashing. Hash came from another technology. Cryptography came from some other background. I can talk about the history for hours, but that's not the point here now. What is the point here is what you saw here. This is very important for you guys to remember very, very clearly. Please remember that in the blockchain, there is no central control. The controller is a set or group of computers whom we refer to as nodes. These nodes maintain what is called a consensus. Consensus decides what goes into the individual distributed ledger copies. The database in a blockchain is called a ledger. Your ledger only. Your accounting, finance guys, chartered accountants' favorite ledgers only. Those ledgers are where the data is actually recorded. There are several consensus models. See, initially, blockchain was never meant for anything except crypto. So there are several consensus models. Depending upon your usage, you may choose one, but the end result is always the same. Governance, definitely, whose asset came from where, how the ownership changed, what time the ownership changed, is all present there. Once recorded, it cannot be changed. And it is recorded only after verification. So audit does not happen post-verification. Reconciliation does not happen post-verification. Reconciliation happens pre-verification. That is what the consensus is about. Don't go outside and say this. And this is something that I invented to make you all understand. Immutable, 100% the transactions are not changeable. As I said, so far I have not come across any blockchain breach at all. Finality, once it is recorded, it is there. It is a final data shared between all participants who are necessary, and therefore it is a final copy of the data. There are many types of blockchains available, many combination of structures possible, many combination of consensus models possible. So depending upon your usage, depending upon your requirements, you can choose one of them. There are public blockchains, private blockchains, consensus blockchains, permissioned, permissionless. Many forms are available. All these and the combination thereof will depend upon your application requirements. This will be something that your advisor will work out for you, designer will work out. What is very critical, can I continue or my time is up? Hello?
Take another 5 minutes.
Okay. This is the main thing about the blockchain. Blockchain is used where? Blockchain is used there where you need disintermediation. What is disintermediation? It is a removal of the intermediary. What do you mean by that? What I mean by that, okay, I will give you one small example. Even today, if you put a Bitcoin, direct Bitcoin order, unless you're going through some consolidating agency, if you put a direct Bitcoin order, sometimes it takes up to 48 hours to clear. That time is, I told you it is concurrent, then why is it taking so much time? It is taking so much time because of the underlying systems are still the old banking systems that are being used. The bank is not a participant to the blockchain transaction at all. Because you tried to go on a blockchain to have direct interaction between the two participants to a transaction without the bank in between. That is disintermediation. You do not have a trusted intermediary doing the record keeping. Because if you want a single copy of the ledger, you need a trusted intermediary, not there. The trusted intermediary is the distributed system with the consensus model. So you yourself are the participant, you yourself are the account keeper. Okay, if there are 500 participants to a particular blockchain, will all 500 participate in consensus? The answer is maybe, maybe not, depends upon your requirement. It will be set up for you depending upon your requirement, which is why the blockchain is called a trust machine. The purpose of the blockchain is to remove the third party who was there, and now you all can think about the possibilities of this. For instance, the bank is never the creator of the money it lends. So there is always a trusted intermediary in most of our business transactions who will be removed with the help of blockchain, which is why it is called a trust machine or a trustless platform. All right. So I have told you what are the advantages, the impact, and whatever I spoke about just now are there right in front of your screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
This is what I talked about. Now you tell me what will change. Think about your own professions. You all are established professionals, deep into your professions. Please let me know, what do you think will be the change in your profession because of this?
Certainly, I would think a demat, a bank, a custodian will be just a media through which assets will pass through, and there will be no parking and floating of money and assets.
That is true, though many people may say crypto did just that. Crypto is one of the applications of blockchains, not exactly a very positive instrument. Yes, anybody else?
In GST and GST Act, GST is in blockchain only, mostly. It will go finally into that mode.
Everything that needs direct involvement of the participants, everything that can benefit from the removal of an intermediary, from a common audit trail and immutable records and transparency, that is a perfect application for the blockchains.
This is Naresh. I have an input and a question. I think this should cause a silent death of reconciliation. And with a complete trail of transparency, it should mean less fraud. If you can
It will mean less fraud, definitely. It will
Yes,
mean
and if you
absolutely no scope for fraud, but it will not lead to any deaths. I will tell you why. Remember the example I gave you first, where I bought 100 HLL. My father-in-law was a veteran investor. He bought 100 in HLL somewhere in the 1980s. I bought 100 HLL yesterday, sitting in 2021. What is there is a sea of difference between the two transactions that occur, but it costs nobody's debt. IT is it's a misnomer that IT causes disruptions, but it does not. You morph into new professions. Old professions will get replaced, and that is always like that. We don't sit and do accounting the way they sat in those old benches and write a ledger with a kukri and all that. We don't do it, right? So morphing will be there. If you personally ask me, anybody, any idea what else could change?
I think throughout the world, all the regulatory authorities in all the countries will migrate to the this blockchain concept, basically to ensure that there are no hidden economical transactions in the country, and to bring all under the transparent tracking from end to end.
Correct. That is definitely there.
I can see a day where the chief election commissioner, the voting will be through blockchain, so there will be no question of rigging at all in future. In a way, I think we'll all move towards an enhanced version of Treta Yuga.
Probably. Anybody, any input before I start talking again?
Sujata ji, maybe you should remove the slideshow so that we can all interact seeing each other.
I will stop sharing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So, anybody, any input more?
Sorry,
I just want to make one last concluding remark.
Sorry, I think it's a massive boost for real estate.
No, the parallel economy will be removed. That's what the blockchain's main objective.
What bottom line is, the record will be one single record. Whole world won't see it. Don't take tension. Only who needs to see will see it. That one record, like I said, very simply put in accounting terms, don't quote me anywhere for this, but fact of the matter for the financial professional is recording will happen after verification and validation, which means the act of audit is pre-recording, not post-recording. So nobody will die, nothing will morph. The disruption will occur. It is expected to be disruptive. It is expected to change a lot of things, but what it will change mainly is your view of how accounts will actually work. Now it will work the way you want it to work. Like, don't you tell people, why did you spend when you didn't have the money? You should have checked first. Don't you check whether there's a bank balance before you issue a check or the check bounces? So that will happen pre the transaction record. That is the main advantage. So to answer your question, what will change for the finance professional? The processes will definitely change. And it is expected to change big time. Finance professionals, accounting professionals, chartered accountants better understand what is going to be the outcome of implementation of blockchains. That outcome, you are going to have to use it to redefine the way you're doing your work. Like what in our KPO language or ITES language, we call it processes. We call it process controls. How you record a transaction, how you record a sale, how you record a purchase. Those are all processes. How you view a transaction, how you record a transaction, what are your processes for checking the transaction. For every such process, redefinition will be needed. That is what the accounting and the finance professional will have to learn. What is the possibility that blockchains will occur? The possibility is very, very high. I'm sure all of you have been following Nirmala Sitharaman ji. I am very proud to live in this India, which has managed to clearly distinguish between cryptocurrency, existing crypto assets, a digital currency by the government, and blockchain. Is this sir raising his hand, or is somebody raising their hand?
I have one follow-up question.
Yes, who's this?
This is Naresh. If you can talk
Yes.
about accounting system and this distributed ledger. What will happen to the current accounting system from Tally to SAP and Oracle and this ledger?
Nothing. Nothing will happen to Tally or to SAP. It will remain the way you see it. What is recorded underneath will change. So SAP or Tally won't change. How you use SAP or Tally will change. What you use it for, how you use it for, what are the advantages. So you're going to not have to do some things that you were doing already. But it will definitely mean you will have to do something before you act. So that amount of process redefinition is going to be there. If you ask me what is going to be impacted, advantages of blockchains are very huge. Uncertainty is definitely there. But from my interaction with the Chartered Accountant Community of India, and of course, with the many foreign locations like in Europe, and I interacted with Deloitte and PwC and all that of Europe and Americas also. Believe me when I say this, they're all mentally prepared. And they also understand, I am so proud to say that the chartered accountants of today, and in this I include people who are around in their 60s, they are mature enough with information technology to be able to confidently say, I will be able to learn this.
See, I have one this one. See, in Saudi Arabia, they have already implemented this e-invoicing concept, which is based upon this blockchain technology. By this, what happens is every invoice raised by the business entity gets approved by the tax authorities before it reaches the customer. So, as you exactly said, it is a pre-approval. I raise an invoice for my customer. It directly does not go to the customer. It goes to the government tax authorities. They approve it, and then the customer automatically pulls it out from the tax server, his invoice. Now, in this type of a scenario, that means there will be every pre-approval before the transaction actually takes place. What will that mean that the auditing per se is I mean, I don't know, being a chartered accountant, I do not want to complete the sentence.
I know what is that word that is getting stuck.
Yes.
I can understand that word, because see, if you want to read some data, I have this data with me. There are several papers that have been written which actually say an accountant is not doing an accountant's job. He's doing an auditor's job just of reconciliation and checking whatever has been created, which is many times a mess. So this technology has actually excited the accountants community more than anybody else, because now they can become accountants. You can focus on decision support system. You can focus on MIS. You can focus on better investing. Why waste your time on this clearing of messes?
Yes,
that part has been automated. The trust part that you had on a third party. Now you trust your auditors, don't you? He comes and tells you, sir, PKML sign up for there, you trust him. That will be on the system. It gives you a signature. There's a digital signature to it. For every transaction, there is a verified copy of the digital. That is why you have that audit trail.
Goes with the stamp. There is a crypto stamp is there.
That is cryptography. That is cryptography.
Yes.
Dr. Sujata, after if you can give the concluding remark, we can just move to Raviji. Then we can come back to the Q&A session.
I'm sorry, I think I overshot. Anybody, any other queries, or shall I go ahead?
No, you can give the concluding remarks so that we can move ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
So again on the Q&A session. After Raviji's remarks, we will come back.
Thank you so much, sir. So in conclusion, a couple of things. Point number one, blockchain is an accounting application. It is an accounting technology. I researched it, so I can tell you accountants this. I have a background in accounting also. I've done my MCOM in accounts. So I can understand this much, that it is going to make your life better, not more difficult. Audit profession will morph. Accounting profession will morph. Unlike, see, I asked you, do you know how word is stored? You don't, but you still use it. But in blockchains, the accountants, the finance professionals need to understand how blockchains work, because only then you will be able to reformat all your processes and how you're going to use the system. So that is going to be the biggest impact on you. what is the outcome of that system is the biggest impact for you. And the impact on you is going to be the biggest of blockchains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sujata, for this presentation. And now we will have the concluding remarks by our mentor, Sri Ravi Kumar Ji. Once that is over, we will come back again for the Q&A session. I would request all of you to fill this form. There is a Google form which is in the chat box, so that we can get back to you or we can contact you back for the future programs as well. Thank you very much, Sri Ravi Ji.
Thank you, Ambalavan Ji. And thanks to both the speakers, Sujata Ji, Dr. Sujata and Sundaram Ji. And from the way questions are being asked, it has generated a lot of interest in everyone. At the outset, let me make it clear, I am not in the finance profession at all, except using money. And being an RSS full-time worker, I don't even earn my money. I only spend your money. Anyway.
Spend the money wisely, sir. That is what you do.
There are two meanings for the word wise.
No, I mean WISC.
Okay.
You spend the money wisely for the good of all. That is the best application of money.
Thank you. Coming back to our subject, we are now living in a different world that you can say, perhaps you can draw a line with this pandemic. Just as they used to say, before Christ and after death of Christ, now we have before pandemic and after pandemic. This is the new world. Why I'm saying? First, the world was never so closely connected as it is today. Transport-wise, flights can take you to any part of the world. Now, various applications in the computer and with the speed with which optic fiber is being laid all across the globe, and different parties coming forward to make it enable this, it means that we are electronically, digitally connected with almost every person in the world. One advantage, several advantages. Disadvantages, if there is a small epidemic at one part of the world, it becomes a pandemic because the speed with which people are moving from country to country. During this period, we have also seen that more and more transparencies of transactions are taking place. More and more technologies enabling people to behave sanely. For example, there are cameras on the road, speed cameras, they detect, and therefore a lot of accidents have been averted. In the days to come, technology will enable many more things. Now we have something called biometrics. While I'm entering into any mall, a person from a distance sees my temperature, and then if he has any doubt, then he stops me from entering into the mall, by which thousands of people inside the mall are protected. So all these things are now becoming technologies enabling, creating a new world order. And we see that the technology is driving the entire world towards a Sanatana Dharma. Whether they know the word Sanatana Dharma or not, the world leaders have started talking about inclusive and development, sustainable development, etc. They clearly see in front of their eyes, we all see that the Chinese model of economy, rapid growth, is not really sustainable. because millions of people inside China are in severe poverty. Now all these things are coming to the light of the people. So it is not only that we are connected through technology, world is becoming closer and closer. Therefore, the ancient adage that we are a family, world is not a market, but world is a family, is slowly coming to the knowledge of the world leaders. Now coming to financial profession also, there are many drawbacks because a lot of financial transactions are taking place because of the terrorist activities. They are all heavily funded by people whom we do not know. We think that they are all good people, but behind the scene, what is happening? Lot of drug trafficking is taking place. All the money goes through these financial operations. I am sure Bitcoin and various other technologies that will be coming in due course, it will be very difficult for people to engage in such a drug trafficking, women trafficking, because behind all the good and bad things, money is the required. So, Chaturvida Purushartham, Artham Moolam, as Chanakya once said, that also will take you towards Dharma. Because Chaturvida Purushartham, Dharma Moolam, Dharmarthe Artham Moolam. And Artha, for the Artha, the Moolam is governance, where the bureaucrats and the policy makers, that is the members of parliament, they play a role. So slowly we are coming to that. I'm sure we should know what is happening tomorrow's technology. I think that the presence of 70 to 80 people here online, we can create a group by which we'll be able to run it on a monthly basis. We started during this pandemic, what is called Tamil Genius, and now it is going on for last 1.5 years uninterrupted, and more people have joined. Then from that we started Tirukkural for management. It is going on weekly very nicely, and a lot of good new ideas have been floating. Similarly, if we start on a monthly basis, what is required is financial people are all the time busy. Unless some people voluntarily say, yes, I am ready to give time and I am ready to contact all these people and keep the network very strong, then we will be ahead of other technologies, and technology will enable India a great country. Because of this technology, what was not possible yesterday will become possible tomorrow. Are we ready for those opportunities? Maybe, as people say, the big four are playing a big role in financial market, but who knows, new technology will come and they will sit and we will come. In the year 1910, a book was written. It said that all the rest of the Europe, outside of Europe, is ruled by Europeans. The Portuguese have some colonies, the Spanish people, the English and the French, the Germans and the Belgian people, they have colonies all over the world. Therefore, a book was written and he got the best seller book award also. He said the Europeans are the most intelligent people, the most learned people, the people doing maximum business in the world, and they know the geography and the history of the world. Therefore, there will never be a war in Europe. The various kings in Tamil Nadu and Kerala and in India, they may fight with each other. The tribals in Africa may fight, but the Europeans will never go for war because they know war is destructive to both the parties. But what happened in 1914? The World War started, and the World War, you may call it World War I and World War II, but the World War that started in 1914 went up to 1945, and more than 100 crore people died in that war. That is, 100 million, that is 10 crore people died in that war. It's not a small thing, and most of the people were Europeans. They fought with each other. Similarly, in the year 1980, if I were to ask you, who is Wipro, you would say Wipro is selling vegetable oil. That's all we knew. But by the year 2000, Azim Premji became one of the richest persons in the world. And who was Narayana Murthy in 1980? He was going on a motorbike with Sudha Murthy behind him. But by 2000, he became one of the most respected IT. Infosys became the most respected IT companies of the world. Within a region of 20 years, so many things have happened. In the year 2000, we did not know what is going to world will be in 2020, but now it has come. And now by 2040, no matter what this Goldman Sachs says, China does not have any future. And therefore, who is going to sustain the world? Only dharmic people have to sustain. And in the finance profession, we are the largest finance people in the world. So slowly, we start collecting the people of like-minded. I'm sure in the days to come will become a force. So we need some volunteers who can give some time. Thank you, Ji. Thanks for this. Ambiji, take it forward and see how we can have a network. We have Adiseshu. I would like him also to say in this, then Narendran also.
Thank you, Ramji. After the remarks from Aditya ji and Narendran ji, we can go back to the Q&A session. If there are any Q&A, we can continue after that. Aditya ji, can you please take it further? Your remarks.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
So India used to be 26% of world GDP not very long ago, maybe 300 years ago. In 1947, we ended up being 0.25% or thereabouts. Today, we are inching close to 2% of world GDP. So therefore, we are seeing a renaissance of all sorts. In this scenario, with technology and technology being the backbone of our life, we are going to see the next revolution, which is the fintech revolution. I mean, we saw the IT revolution, we saw the industrial revolution. Fintech revolution is going to be version 3.0. With our democratic systems, with our culture that is so democratic, so open to debate, stresses on trust, I think we have an amazing ability to lead the world. And there have been enough predictions on this from Nostradamus to Satya Sai Baba, and that should give us the hope that we can propel and contribute and lead to the world. We have a leadership today that is just doing that. All of us just need to get together, not just talk with each other, but also do business with each other. If we did that, our ecosystem would be larger than the GDP of India itself. And those are my remarks.
Thank you, Aditya ji.
Nice.
Narendran ji.
No, very good. I think I have nothing much to add except the fact that this is just the beginning. And as you would have seen, we were little unorganized, and that's how it's meant to be. Our idea is to bring all the diamonds into one place and then see how we can create some exciting opportunities together. So by nature, this was meant to be the first starting meeting. If everybody is okay, we will meet same time every month. So this is third Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. We'll all get together. As we meet, we'll expand this. We promise that we will have at least a lot of representations from other parts. Of course, North America and many parts of Europe will be difficult to get. But nevertheless, we can't have two meetings in parallel. We will bring in at least ASEAN and rest of Asia into a much stronger number. And then maybe we can have a different flavor for North America and mainland Europe. So I think from what everybody is talking about, this is a classical situation of infinite opportunity but limited bandwidth. I think if we all have to really grow ourselves, apne andar ki virat, you have to identify to be able to play this very well. There are lots of interesting infinite opportunities. Every time, everything we speak about, there are infinite opportunities. But if with bandwidth is limited, management capabilities is very limited, I think that's a great position to be in. So we can pick and choose and take one or two projects and then take it to a global scale. I think we have done a great favor to this land and Bharat Mata. So I request everybody to share your numbers, and there could be a technology opportunity, there could be a thinking opportunity, there could be a bank, there could be a digital bank, there could be a fund, there could be a integrated back office, there could be a integrated customer facing organization. I can keep on talking about as many opportunities which is possible, but the Karta are all here in this group. I think if you are able to take one project and scale it globally, whatever we agree, I think we have done our generation and leave behind a great generation for future Bharatiyas to come. So please share your numbers, and please make sure we are all available here every third Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And we promise to put as much force behind this as a volunteer. And Bharat Mata ki jai.
Narendran ji,
just a suggestion. Next, there is third Saturday will be Makara Sankranti. So only next month we can have it on 22nd of January.
Makara Sankranti, yeah, it's okay. I think why not? Why can't we spend 23 hours for the family and our society and 1 hour for Vishwaguru? I don't see that's a problem. If somebody cannot really come, they have some personal commitments, no problem. But whoever can take that 1 hour out will still meet. No problem. We'll have a smaller meeting if people have other engagements. But at least we have started. So every third Saturday, 11:30, we'll meet some.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Is there any questions to Dr. Sujata so that we can raise the questions?
Yeah.
Can I just ask Naval Bajaj, because he helped us put this together. Navalji, you want to say something, share your thoughts, because you promised to do a lot of support in making this bigger and bigger. Navalji, you want to say something, please?
Has Chirag come?
Right.
Is Navalji there?
Navalji is there, but he is traveling actually. He is moving to this one for a meeting. So he said he is not able to. He moved
Okay.
up to the mobile phone.
Yeah, then back to you, Ambiji. You can do a Q&A for the rest of the...
If there are any questions to Dr. Sujata, please raise the questions. Otherwise, go ahead. Pradeep ji, you want to ask something, Pradeep Modi ji?
Yeah, I just joined a little late because of some of the other Baitak was going on. Is there any possibility of getting a recorded version of today's discussion, or henceforth any recorded version of our meetings, so that somebody may not be participating by one or other reason? He may.
Yes, sir. We have a recording. We will share it with you, sir. The full program was recorded, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
Pradeep Modi.
Get the presentation of Sujata ji.
Pradeep Modi is from Karnavati.
Viji.
And he is in charge for Hindu spiritual and social affairs.
We have already a meeting currently going on here, so I could not join the meeting in time.
Has Papa joined?
Beg your pardon, Ravi ji?
Has he joined? I don't know.
Bapna ji is still in a meeting. I just came for one call because RSS Gujarat meeting is also going on. So our Atul ji has called up. So I came out to receive that call and I find your message. So Bapna ji is still inside.
Okay.
PDF of Sujata ji.
Okay. No further questions. We can just conclude the meeting. So if there is anything, please ask. Otherwise, we will.
Sujata ji. Sujata ji. Sujata ji. Can we have your presentation shared?
I'm not very sure how useful it will be because it's quite like running notes.
I missed you, so I thought.
I will send it across to the organizers and they can disseminate.
Sujata ji, you can just send the summary slides because I know there's a lot of too technical stuff. So maybe you can just send the summary
no
slides.
problem. I will send it to the
That's enough.
organizers. You can disseminate
Yeah.
it because I don't have everybody.
Sure.
Ambiji? Sorry.
Please.
Can I?
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it was Yagna Ramasubramaniam had a doubt, I guess.
Yes.
I can see somebody.
Thank you.
Yagyaji wants to ask some questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yagyaji, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, Ambiji, thank you, Ambiji, Narenji, and Ravi Kumar ji for such a wonderful information section. First of all, I'd like to thank you. And my question on the blockchain technology is not a question, just a comments is I just like to check, Sujati, if you could provide me on the cost prospective sides, the cost of the technology, the implementation and the maintenance of the cost, and moreover, how the data are served, where the servers going to stay around. This is regarding the security prospective sites. If you can throw away something, be happy.
To answer your first question, sir, cost-wise, the trusted intermediary is going to be out. So cost-wise, this system is expected to give us better results than all systems so far as costing is concerned. But what is going to be that amount? An actual amount has not been put on it as a global indicator. As we know, solutions, even SAP, there are so many various versions of it. Depending upon your usage and depth of use, those things will differ. So they may not, there still is no way to completely predict that. What was the second question? The second question, where it will be stored? It's a distributed database, sir. It is not going to be stored. As I said, it's not going to be stored anywhere in a central location. There is no need to store it in a central location. If there is a system that I'm creating where there are going to be 200 people on that blockchain, then that particular system will be designed in such a way to identify which are the participant nodes where the data will be distributed and stored. To answer your question in a very, very simple manner, let me ask you, you went and did a Google search. Do you know from where your data is coming? Definitely, it is not coming from a centralized server. It is coming from many servers which are being created and synced in such a way. That part the technology manages, but the fact of the matter is it is not central. It is distributed. There were two systems. There was the mainframe, which was completely centralized. Then came the client servers, which were completely again centralized. The clients were only using it. Servers had the data. Clients were only processing. This is decentralized. Here, there is no single node where the data will be stored in center. Your view of the ledger, that means what you see of the ledger, will show you all the transactions that the system has set for your usage. But no central control, no central storage. It's stored across the network.
And what about the data security?
100% ensured. As I said, so far there is no blockchain that has been breached. There is 2-3 level factor authentication that happens. Data is stored in an encrypted format. So far, nobody has been able to decrypt it because it is, first of all, you should need to decrypt it. The minute you touch the data, the blockchain will be broken. You cannot enter near the blockchain. There is another layer of encryption around it. I didn't go into the details, but if you were to read the technical details of how a block is created, there is something called a Merkle tree. The Merkle roots and the Merkle trees are used to create those cryptographically signed data packets. So what happens is if someone touches the data packet, they're not just that particular block, the entire blockchain gets disturbed. The blocks are all interconnected to the cryptographic signature of the previous block. So as the data keeps increasing, the blockchain keeps increasing in size. And the second layer of protection also comes in. So the blockchain itself is impregnable. And the second layer, of course, it's like your usual login user ID password. Definitely security is way more enhanced than the security that you have on your bank data that you're seeing on your laptop. Much better than that for sure.
If the data gets corrupted, is there any chance?
It cannot get corrupted on all the distributed nodes at the same time, no? We are way beyond data corruption and all that, sir. Technology has gone way beyond all that. Technology, corruptions and all that are not something, and it is not a centralized system where a corruption will cause the system to collapse, no? It is this distributed system. So the data replication, data rules, that is a totally different ballgame. If I start talking about it, then I will be spending a lot of time doing it. So corruption is not something we expect.
Sujata ji, looks like we're going to trouble you more often because all questions seems to be on blockchain. We actually wanted to
help,
see.
Sir. I'm willing to help, sir. I also want to do. In fact, the reason I am here today is because I want to do my share towards dissemination of. See, I did a doctorate in a topic which is very upcoming and it's still not caught enough research attention. I want the people who are interested in researching Bharat to take advantage of it, sir. So I am willing to be disturbed any
But
number.
one thing we should remember. But one thing we should remember: after all, everything is human invention.
Absolutely.
At that level, everything is, sir. At that level, everything
So
is.
something will come. We may not know. See, based on the experience, something will come in the future to break this chain also. See, what is the guarantee that we are going to ensure?
There is no guarantee that tomorrow morning I will breathe. And I'll tell you one thing, sir. I have been teaching computers since the time I was 21 years old. In my classroom, I had people, I used to teach mainframe operating systems. So that was a very difficult to teach topic. At that time, one thing I said, don't, the people, especially from Andhra Pradesh, have this habit of asking this question. Is this possible? I used to tell them, don't ask me that question because I will tell you impossible is nothing. Because today, what is impossible in technology becomes possible tomorrow. I started my IT career in 96, though I had a lot of breaks in between, 2 children and all. From 96 till to 2021, the number of changes and the number of impossibles between and becoming possible that we have seen are just too many. So everything is possible. A blockchain can be breached. Hopefully it is breached so that we come up with a better technology.
You want to ask something?
Sorry. As technology goes on improving, Indians have a better chance. And the reason I will not go into detail now, the Indian language, Devanagari and Akshara has given us some extra leverage than other languages.
I totally agree with you, sir. I have to add this here. I will tell you my personal experience of 25 years. We used to tell our trainees, I was a trainer for the longest time, I was a training manager and all that in IT space, in corporates. We used to tell them, Peter Edan Sonna, that is Veda Vaku, don't ask. You earn money because Peter doesn't understand, which means the foreigners don't understand technology as much as you. So don't go and try to infuse it into their head. Just understand their requirements. Our understanding, we are natural at it, sir. We have an aptitude for it. I don't know what it is about us. Probably our ancestral Rudram. I believe that Rudram chanting has made our brain more mathematical. It is capable of programming is very mathematical. We are more capable of it because of all those ancient Rudram chanting, you know. We are used to metric chants. So is our mind. So we definitely stand a better chance. Fintech is definitely going to IT. We are already there. Tomorrow, if something was to happen to Indian IT, I think US will go down the drain. Fintech is the next happening thing in India, combined with Personally, I feel our chartered accountants are a powerhouse of knowledge. There is nothing in finance and accounting that they don't know. They are only a little bit, what do you say? They are not very outgoing as far as technology is concerned, but that cannot be said about the current crop of chartered accountants. So fintech is definitely India centric. There's no two ways about it. And we
We
have
should
data to
thank
prove
our
it.
ancestors actually.
Can we have some of the others? I can see some
Yatinder
seniors in
ji
the
wants to
group.
ask some questions.
Senior group. Yatinder ji, maybe Sampath ji, welcome sir. We have not met for a long time. And Shambhala Bhuvan ji, any reactions from some of our mentors and seniors also? And few more reactions, please.
Good
afternoon,
Yatinder ji,
Narendran ji.
then we can move to the others. Yeah.
Yatinder ji is from Australia.
Namaste, Sujata ji. It's so nice to hear all your presentation and the conversation. I just noticed you mentioned about chartered accountant. You made my day. I happen to be the founder chairman here in Sydney, and this is one of the cause I have this brand in my hand, and I really, I really believe that. But somehow we do not have this good name in India. At least we have one good name in outside India, but in India we are not considered that intelligent somehow. I got this one question, Sujata ji, is you mentioned about you buy something and what will be the transaction? You have you buy a stock and then you sell the stock. So this is in private environment, right? Suppose I have a garment wholesale business. I bought from the manufacturer and then I'm selling to some retail shop. How the blockchain could be used in this environment?
Very simple application you're asking for. First of all, sir, I mean what I said about the chartered accountants. I'm married to one, and my son is also a chartered accountant. And a lot of people I have used a lot of data for my research from the ACCA publication, Association of Chartered Accountants of TANS, Chartered Accountants Association of Australia and New Zealand also. So in my research. So second question, your question.
They are our partners, by the way, here.
Okay. Will be nice to speak to you people sometime on blockchain because a lot of publications have come from there.
I'm going to, we have a event every month and I'm going to definitely invite you. And
thank you so much, sir.
As well.
Thank you so much, sir. I would, to answer your question, when you bought the car from the car manufacturer, the car manufacturing data, which was usually given to you as a printout, as a record somewhere, and you had to maintain it, that need not be done. That can be entered into a blockchain and it remains there for life. You will have a token or an identity number by which that record will exist. So suppose you sold the car to X, X sold it to Y, that entire trail will be there. When you bought the car, what was the valuation, make, model, engine number, everything can be there. And that record itself carried forward to X with the time and date he bought it and in what state he sold it to Y, everything.
My question was, okay, they are the big ticket item. I'm talking about, say, garments. Somebody selling jeans and they bought from manufacturer. They bought 10,000 jeans. Now they are selling.
Supply chain management is one of the biggest application of blockchains, in fact.
See, what is happening here is there's 2-3 things. One is ESG reporting is coming in the picture now, because in Australia we are all the reporting entity are required to report on ESG in their financials now. And if they have a blockchain system somewhere on the way, where they can say, suppose it was manufactured in Bangladesh, they have to see how the factory, how they are paying and everything, which can then be traced by anybody, which could be open ledger system. So it goes beyond debit and credit of the dollar amount. It is also taken into account the ESG reporting, environmental and social responsibility type of thing. So that could be somehow a great use in my opinion.
Yes, sir. If you could contact us later on, we do have some solutions in the ESG space itself using DLT, distributed ledger.
Do you have ESG reporting as well?
ESG reporting, ESG we can work that out. There is a solution to it, and which has already been developed. It's not classically on blockchain. It is on DLT, which is a distributed ledger technology, is the father of blockchain. Blockchain offers some advantage over the DLT, the traditional DLT application. So there are solutions that are there, and we can discuss it, sir.
SPGen offer ESG course as well. ESG
I'm not
reporting.
very sure about SPGen, sir. I can find that out for you.
Okay. Thank you. Just find out that might be a good opportunity for chartered accountants because we are moving into this space.
Yatindra, I have the contact number of Dr. Sujata, so you can.
Thank you.
15 जनवरी को फिर से हम लोग मिलने वाले हैं। उसके पहले आप इसका स्टडी कर लीजिए, उनसे बात कर लीजिए और यहाँ सेमिनार आप ही ऑर्गेनाइज कीजिए।
No, it will be so good. Actually, I will invite my other member. Actually, I'm working on it.
सारे मेंबर्स को इधर इनवाइट कीजिए।
Done. That will be so nice. And Raviji, I don't know how we can thank you for your dedication. You always inspired us in Australia. We haven't seen you here for a long time.
अरे जब मैं वहां आऊंगा तो चाय पिला दो, बस हो गया।
Office is always waiting for you. Thank you. Really appreciate it, Sujata ji as well.
15th को वैसे हमने सोचा है 3rd Saturday every month same time। वो 15 तारीख जनवरी है, थोड़ा सा त्योहार का माहौल है, मकर संक्रांति है, फिर भी आप हम लोग मिलेंगे। आप अपने साथियों को भी लेके आइए, पहले से ही प्रश्न निकाल के दीजिए, हम लोग सुजाता जी से बात कर लेंगे।
ठीक है, ठीक।
ओके।
मालूम पड़ गया सुजाता जी तो फैमिली की है।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
You want to?
He wants to say something. Sampath ji. Malika
Ambi ji, can I ask something? Ambi ji?
Yeah, yes,
Malika here.
yes.
Okay. See, when Ravi ji was talking, he was telling no BC, before Christ, after Christ. What I am foreseeing after listening to Sujata ji, it will be before cryptocurrency and after cryptocurrency. It will be BC and AC, but it will be before cryptocurrency and after cryptocurrency. I think because the entire financial world will change with the different accounting system. Now, my question to you, madam, is what will be the future of banking industry? I'm an ex-banker. So how will the accounting system happen in the banks? Because when everything is going to be digital, of course, we have digital banking today also. But what about the